Is putting in question the future of the Iowa caucuses. We get national reaction. Then it's the fastest growing school district in the state, how Waukee deals with growth, diversity, and threats. Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on This Week in Iowa. I'm Sabrina Ahmed. Iowa's virtual caucus plan is rejected. The Democratic National Committee, or the DNC, denied it late last week. Now the IDP is working to find a way forward to make sure the caucuses are accessible to everyone. Chief Political Correspondent Rachel Droz has more on what they plan to do next.
Right now, they're trying to regroup. They say the idea of a virtual caucus has been tabled for this election cycle, but they're still working on a plan to make their system more accessible overall. A fear of hackers tabling the Iowa Democratic Party's plan for allowing people to caucus via telephone.
Tech experts identified a vulnerability with a potential vendor.
Last year, the Democratic National Committee adopted a new rule requiring states to expand ways people can vote in primaries. The intent is to give voters that can't vote in person a chance to participate. The DNC says they'll give Iowa a pass on that for the next election if there's no secure option.
They've mentioned that that's a possibility, but we are working towards finding a solution to this problem. But I don't believe that no one has said to me that we have to have a waiver.
Iowa's rejected plan would have created a virtual caucus, allowing people to participate by using their phones to rank their top candidates. But the DNC says the technology to do that securely doesn't exist.
We still have confidence in our vendors, still have confidence in the process. But if the DNC does not believe that the technology exists and that the process can be secure, then we can't go forward with our plans that we originally put forward.
Now that this decision has come down, the party is going to brainstorm on how to move forward.
We're taking this news, just like everyone else, and we are working to make sure that this process, to see what options are available to us with the time we have left.
Advocacy groups tell me that they are concerned there will be people that lose out on the chance to vote without some sort of alternative to the in-person caucus. Reporting in the newsroom, Rachel Droz, Local 5 News. We are Iowa.
Rachel, thank you very much. Now, there's some mixed reaction coming in from the Democratic presidential candidates on the DNC's decision. Some saying the party is silencing voters. Others say they made the right call to ensure the process is secure. We need to take a short break, but coming up next, we speak to ABC News political director Rick Klein and get his perspective on the national ramifications for this abrupt caucus news.
Grab your favorite team swag and join us Friday morning for the biggest pep rally in high school football. We kick off every Friday at 6 a.m. with Blitz Game Day.
Low scoring so far, which is great. Our defense has been carrying us.
Two unbeaten teams. Panorama comes to I-35.
Yeah. Talking the biggest matchup with the home team.
We know it's more than just a game.
This is the one that everybody wants to win.
Don't miss the excitement Fridays on Good Morning Iowa.
Blitz Game Day is sponsored by Fairway.
I know people love the dish remote. It's great. So why build in a Google Assistant? I mean, who really needs a TV remote that can turn the thermostat up,
Change temperature to 72,
the lights down,
dim the lights,
and still access their DVR?
play real.
Actually, some people could absolutely use a remote like that. The new Dish Voice Remote. Dish, tuned in to you.
At Local 5 on your side means answers to your questions.
And we're just doing the stories that the community wants us to do, to empower you with something as a viewer that you can move forward with.
What drives these people to go above and beyond and be exceptional Iowans? That's stuff we can all use in our own lives.
To be able to be that line of connection for people is huge to them, and they can reach out to Local 5, and they're going to get answers.
We are Iowa, and it's everything to me.
Let's play.
From the Outlaws
I think we know how this is going to go.
to the Warriors
Nobody can dispute the rightness of what we're doing.
and every heart-pounding, smoke and barrel, hot pursuit, and powerhouse punch in between.
Sometimes you gotta go for it.
Handy up and kick in like men. Like men!
It all is
She ain't seen bad yet.
on Grit Television with Backbone. From the capital city, you're watching This Week in Iowa with Sabrina Ahmed, getting to the heart of what's happening in Iowa politics.
Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing our conversation about the Iowa caucuses. So we are joined now by Rick Klein. He's the political director with ABC News in Washington, D.C. As his team is still kind of digesting the news of the virtual caucus being rejected by the DNC. Rick, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. Good to be with you, Sabrina.
To get started, can you just kind of tell us what your and your team's initial reaction to this news was?
I was surprised. I've been talking to the Iowa Democratic Party, talking to the National Party about this, and it looked like things were in place. This is not a new issue. We know from the wake of the 2016 caucuses, this was a major priority for the Democratic Party to allow people to participate virtually, not have to be in the room to be able to be part of the caucus process. It was a feedback that they got out of a range of caucus states, and it was a big initiative that Tom Perez at the DNC wanted to see in place for 2020. So despite all of that, despite having several years to get ready, the fact that all of those plans are shelved and that there will not be, by all accounts, virtual caucuses is a bit of a surprise.
But Rick, we didn't hear about the Iowa Democratic Party's plans for this virtual caucus, whatever that was going to look like, until the beginning of this year. They submitted it to the DNC. It took 7 months for the DNC to confirm that plan was going to work, or whether it was or wasn't going to work. So, I mean, what about this timeline? It all seems a little squashed.
I think there's a lot of finger pointing that happens now after the fact in trying to say, well, exactly when it was out there. From the DNC perspective, this really didn't come close to passing muster. They were very concerned about the potential to manipulate results. They could not guarantee security, and I don't think that was ever really going to change. So I think there's a lot of blame to go around and a lot of embarrassment, frankly, because one of the things Democrats wanted to do was to ensure that people that would not or could not attend a caucus would be able to be part of the process. They made that a requirement, essentially, for states like Iowa and Nevada that have a history of caucuses to continue them, is to have this new component. And I think a lot of people in Washington just assumed that people would have their acts together on this. And this was just an internal concern at the DNC that they would not be able to guarantee security.
Well, we hear from the Iowa Democrats that now they're going to regroup, but where do they go from here?
Well, we're only 5 months out, and it may seem like a long time, and you can get things done pretty quickly, but I have a hard time seeing what they could do now to ensure security that they couldn't a couple of weeks ago. The Democratic Party didn't want to have to give up on this, and in fact, they still don't. They still would like this process to be opened up, but things get more complicated with every passing day and week. Campaigns are making plans around this. They know where the voters are. They know that campaigning in a caucus is different than campaigning for virtual caucuses, and all of that is much different than campaigning with the primary, especially when you have New Hampshire, which is poised to go right after Iowa, worried about what the Iowa caucuses look like. We've had pretty explicit threats from New Hampshire that if the Iowa caucuses essentially look like a primary, they could jump the line and go in front of Iowa.
Right, so that really stops Iowa from being able to have any sort of a paper ballot. You can't mail anything in. So, I mean, do you really think that there is some other type of system that could be put into place in the next 5 months, or do you think this just means that we kind of buy our time for the next 5 months, this one cycle, and then next year potentially risk the first in the nation status?
Yeah, I think there's got to be a real concern in Iowa and New Hampshire, and I think both states are going to eye each other warily around this as we get closer. That if you try to bring in some kind of alternative framework, does it look like a primary, and does that trigger New Hampshire to go instead? There's a lot of complex choreography that goes into putting Iowa in front of New Hampshire that way. That's how campaigns are basing their decisions. So I don't think it's enough now to say, well, maybe they'll figure it out down the road. The campaigns are clamoring for finality on this. They're already upset with the fact that the virtual caucuses appear not likely to happen, and there does not seem to be a good answer in place. Again, the DNC would much rather have had something constructive to say and say, well, fix X, Y, and Z, and you're okay. They have not even offered that kind of feedback. So while the Iowa Democrats are trying to figure something out, I don't know what could pass muster.
Okay, so what are you hoping from this? Obviously, as you are a member of the national media following this, I mean, you have a lot of work to do in trying to prepare for whatever we do get when it comes to the caucuses.
The biggest priority from my perspective is clarity, to know what we're going to have, how we're going to see it, what it's going to be, how it's going to be digested, how it's going to be presented to the public, what kind of announced and results are going to be presented to the public. We know Iowa has huge impact. Their outsized import, that will not change whether or not there's a virtual caucus, but how those numbers are delivered, what we're able to tell our viewers and our readers in real time on the night of the caucuses about who won, who lost, who else is out there, who wins delegates, all of those are the questions that I think a lot of folks in the press are going to want to get answered.
And of course, those are things that we here at This Week in Iowa need to worry about as well. So Rick, we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for talking to us about this, and you know that this won't be the last time we see you on This Week in Iowa.
Thank you, Sabrina. Always a pleasure. Thanks.
We'll take a short break, everybody. We'll be right back.
Hey, Central Iowa. Crossroads Shooting Sports is your premier indoor shooting range. With certified staff, we take your education, safety, and security seriously. Whether it's your first time holding a gun or you're an experienced shooter, Crossroads is a place for you. With a state-of-the-art indoor range, full-service training and conference facilities, and complete retail shop, Crossroads Shooting Sports is here to meet your needs. Visit crossroadshooting.com to learn about events, training courses, and more. Crossroads Shooting Sports, where responsibility and skill meet.
Power is the biggest touchscreen a truck's ever seen. One that can see 360 degrees. But when you surround it with 19 speakers, back seats that do front seat things, and end up Motor Trend's 2019 Truck of the Year, that's the power to innovate. Come to Ram Power Days for great deals on the most powerful lineup of pickups.
Get 0% financing for 60 months, plus $4,750 total bonus cash on the 2019 Ram 1500 Classic Bighorn.
It takes years of hard work to reach an elite level. Every day, practicing and honing skills. In every challenge, staying focused on the goal. For Local 5, it's being the best at telling local stories that matter to you. We're honored to celebrate student athletes on and off of the field. And we're excited for what's to come in the 20th year of Friday Night Blitz here on Local 5. We are Iowa Sports.
Not in Kansas anymore.
Are you a good witch or a bad witch?
You represent the Lollipop Guild?
You have no power here.
Now be gone before someone drops a house on you.
Follow the yellow brick road.
I don't care.
Because.
I don't care.
I'll get him for this. And his little dog, too.
There is no place like home.
And for great TV, there's no place like Cozy TV.
You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Dr. Brad Buck is the new Waukee School Superintendent. He's been on the job since July, though he's no stranger to Waukee. He worked for the district about a decade ago. But as you can imagine, a lot has changed since then. Waukee is the fastest growing district in the state, and it's a challenge to maintain that small town Waukee feeling, that connectiveness, as he calls it.
Yeah, so this idea of hanging on to focusing on the individual student as we get bigger is one of the things we need to continue to think about strategically and what that really means. So that will be a goal going forward. One of the goals going forward, while we do have lots of opportunities for our students, one of the things I've heard a fair amount of feedback, so I've been out just listening to people, doing entrance conversations, you know, what do we do well, and let's talk about that. What are some areas in which we can improve, those kinds of conversations. So one of the things I've heard a fair amount about is, while we do have lots of opportunities and pathways for our students, I'm making pathways, you can see, lots of opportunities and pathways for our students, an area that we could probably continue to grow in is in the area of career and tech ed and sort of that mid-skill opportunity. And so I'm not exactly sure what that'll look like going forward, but I think that'll be a goal is, as we just think about opportunities for our students. And then one of the things that is different about Waukee from when I was here before, I should have touched on this, and it's is we are becoming increasingly diverse. So we're becoming increasingly diverse as it relates to the first language of students, racial and ethnic diversity, socioeconomic diversity, religious diversity, I mean, sort of all the ways that you can think about becoming increasingly diverse. We are more diverse than we were 8 or 10 years ago. And that is a celebration point for us. And it is also an opportunity to start talking about equity and access for our students and what those types of opportunities might look like, so that we're making sure all of our kids are served in an inclusive, welcoming environment.
grew up not very far from here, so I have watched it grow and become more diverse in my lifetime as well. And when you have a much more, a higher minority population, with that often comes lower income students. Sure. So what does that look like to, of course, ensure that they get equal opportunity, but also to make sure that they're being treated fairly by students and teachers?
Yeah. So this is where an opportunity that I've had in the past, I'm hoping situates a conversation for the future. So Cedar Rapids is about 50% free and reduced lunch, and about a third of the students self-identify as racially or ethnically diverse. So we are engaged in a lot of activities there using a tool called the Intercultural Development Inventory, which is basically a self-assessment measure of your understanding of your own culture as well as the ability to reach in and across other cultures. So we were engaging in activities with staff there to build capacity in sort of that intercultural mindset. We were also doing work related to bias and white privilege and a variety of those types of topics. And so, and then also specific teaching strategies that are good for all kids, but in particular kids that are in traditionally underserved or underrepresented groups. So with that contextual background, as coming into Waukee, starting to the same conversations here. So as an example, and this started before I arrived, and I'm excited about it. So all of our senior leadership team is engaged in work related to intercultural development inventory. We've taken it, we've started the work around it. At our administrative team meetings, we'll start to build capacity in it. And then we'll start to work that through at the school level. But the equity and access work is building capacity in the adults, it's understanding other cultures, and then it also gets into really granular conversations like, is the food that's served in the cafeteria inclusive of a variety of perspectives as it relates to the types of diets that people have? And I mean, once you start to dig into it, it's everywhere. And are there accidental artificial barriers that keep kids from going out for activities? Because we are incredibly proud of the high quality activities we offer our students, but we want to make sure that there aren't barriers that are keeping kids from being a part of the things that we would want for all of our kids. So yeah, it'll just create a whole discussion around making sure that we're an inclusive community.
We continue our discussion with Dr. Buck and move on to school funding up next.
If you come to Burlington just to buy a coat, here's what you're missing.
Great fitting jeans.
Tons of boots.
My favorite brands.
So much for the home.
Makeup. The latest fashions.
I love the brands. I love the savings.
Hello, Burlington. Bye-bye Coat Factory.
You from around here?
Born and raised. You?
Oh, Afghanistan.
Bull. Your dog tags don't match the name on your credit card. And you asked if I was from around here, figuring we could go back to my place because there's a woman back at yours. Am I right? Thanks, sweetheart.
Ma'am?
Don't call me ma'am.
What would you like me to
Dex.
You a cop?
No.
I'm gonna have to check for a wire.
Well, it's a good thing I wore my second best bra.
Sometimes people have problems the police can't help with. That's where you come in. A PI? I don't think you can find your keys half the time.
Might keep me out of trouble.
What happened to your face?
What happened to your face?
You okay?
Yeah. There's 2 more in the trunk.
Stumptown premieres Wednesday, September 25th on ABC.
Party! Confetti!
This fall,
Tiny bathing suit.
Speedo!
a new game show.
Parking! Ballet!
That's too fun for words.
Amazing!
Meredith Vieira.
I'm going to set the opening bid. Coat.
Jacket.
Great job!
25 words or less. Coming this fall.
If you come to Burlington just to buy a coat, here's what you're missing.
Great fitting jeans.
Tons of boots.
My favorite brands.
So much for the home.
Makeup. The latest fashions.
I love the brands. I love the savings.
Hello, Burlington. Bye-bye Coat Factory.
You're watching This Week in Iowa, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Iowa.
Waukee, as a growing school district, doesn't face the same financial issues as the rural schools with declining enrollment and the inevitable consolidation. But that doesn't mean they don't have issues to deal with as well.
Longest run of the lowest increases in school funding since the inception of the funding formula in the 70s. So we are not on a sustainable trajectory for schools to deliver on the promise for every student. So in Waukee, we're lucky because we have growth, so it's an enrollment-based model. So because we're growing, we're situated in a way that we, our rate of increase is higher than the state average because we get money for the additional kids. The backside of that, however, is we educate about 500 or 600 students per year for free. So we don't get the money on time, we get the money a year in arrears.
Got it.
So annually we educate about 600 students for free for that year. So while we do have access to funding, and I will never say we aren't treated fairly and all that, I would say that one of the issues we face is that issue. The issue that often is faced in rural schools is they're getting the double whammy of a very small increase and oftentimes disproportionately have declining enrollment, which drives their number down. So I think as a state we're going to have a larger conversation about this, and I guess one of the things I personally struggle with is we're in pretty good economic times. This economy's been expanding for a number of years, and the increases in school funding seemingly haven't aligned with what's happened with in the economy. So what I worry about is historically at some point this economy is going to hit a recession and even potentially contract, and if we're getting 2% increases in a good economy, what is that going to mean when we get into, and we're likely to have one at some point, a more difficult economy? And then one of the things I would also say, there are some categories within the categorical funding that probably need some additional attention. So an example that's recent is they've done some equalization work with transportation, which I think is fair. They're trying to equalize the district cost per pupil and state cost per pupil, and so the progress they're making on that I think is helpful. So I would want to point to recent extension of the SAVE, huge win for districts. So I want to honor that there's been progress on some of that. I would say though that continue to look at the length of time districts can get additional funding for students for whom English is their first language is probably worth looking at, and is the percentage that's the additional amount the right amount? Is there something that could be done with some kind of factor in there for waiting for poverty? Because students from low socioeconomic backgrounds are disproportionately impacted, and it's disproportionate in terms of need and resource to educate them appropriately. And that's not true of every child in poverty, but disproportionately so. So is there something that needs to be done in the formula with that too? Probably a fair question. And then for Waukee, could we get to a conversation at some point where we get on-time funding for our growth? Because the quick math of that for us is 600 times about $6,800 is just under $4 million that we don't receive in the year. So it's a real number for us. Yeah.
So what are your next steps? How do you continue to lobby for Waukee schools, but obviously also for just education as a whole?
So one of the most pervasive challenges I think we have in the state right now is supporting students in their mental health. And so thank you to the legislature for putting a framework into place that didn't exist before and putting some money into getting started on some additional training for staff, and I think some assessment opportunities to help us identify kids with specific needs related to mental health. So I think that's a great start. I think a related challenge with that is, though, this is going to be a pretty expensive enterprise. And I think in fairness to the legislature, even if we put a lot of money in it immediately, even if we had the money, I don't know that the infrastructure is here to immediately bring it to life. So it's probably one of these things that needs to happen with a commitment of money and resource, and then and watch that infrastructure grow. I would say this about student mental health. I personally believe it's going to be a big enough financial challenge within the state that it's probably going to need a funding stream that isn't the state budget. Specifically, I think it's going to need to be an additional penny. So one of the things that's hanging out there is that 3/8 of a cent for the water quality. So if they were to pass a penny, get at the water quality issue with that 3/8 of a cent, and then some significant chunk of that additional penny directly aligned to supporting youth mental health. And what I think would be super exciting about that is we could then situate Iowa as a place that could become sort of a beacon for that. So we attract mental health professionals, we attract a mental health infrastructure, we attract a mental health infrastructure for rural Iowa in particular, but certainly selfishly want a great infrastructure in the urban and suburban centers too. But my sense is the legislature is probably going to need to grapple with this at sort of that level of discussion. And I think it's that big a priority. If somebody were to say to me, what's the first priority in schools right now, it is better supporting our students in their mental health needs.
You're watching This Week in Iowa. We'll be right back.
I am a nurse,
a firefighter,
a college student,
a mother, and I am an American soldier. I will always be ready
for every storm
and disaster that threatens my community.
I will always be there to protect my neighbors,
my family,
and my country.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
Visit nationalguard.com to learn more about part-time service.
A plane crashed on a beach and then was cleaned up instantaneously. I found a kid at the crash site. Whew, she doesn't have a scratch on her. Fake federal agents, fake parents. She's gone! Don't be mad.
Emergence premieres September 24th on ABC. Experience the first 9 minutes now.
It's premiere week on the Tamron Hall Show. I love stories that inspire me, make me think, and get the conversation started. On the very first Tamron Hall Show, 47 years behind bars for a crime he did not commit. How he took the pain of being robbed of his freedom and turned it into a story of inspiration. Trust me, you will never forget him on the very first Tamron Hall Show.
Monday at 2 on Local 5.
Dr. Phil, I need your help.
The Bam Margera exclusive.
I'm amazed that I try for your help, and Dr. Phil's team is here. I'm like,
when I see a young man that's in trouble and asking for help, my ears prick up.
The issues.
Is there something wrong with you?
No.
Why are you here?
His wife.
You don't listen. You don't follow rules.
You've been yelling at her. You do this, you do that, you do this. That's just purely abusive.
A Dr. Phil exclusive.
Monday at 4 on Local 5.
Before we go, it's not all doom and gloom for the Iowa caucuses. This summer, we got to see the Iowa caucuses play in downtown Des Moines. What are we talking about? The Iowa Cubs. They changed their name in partnership with the Iowa Secretary of State's office to promote Iowa's first in the nation status and to help Cub fans register to vote. The office is working with both parties to ensure Iowa's caucuses remain first.
We in the Iowa Secretary of State's office stand united with the Iowa Democratic Party and the Republican Party of Iowa to preserve Iowa's first in the nation status for the caucus and primary process in general election years.
The Secretary of State's office also worked to get people registered at the game before caucus time. Now, one final note before we say goodbye on this Sunday is we would like to say a huge thank you to our executive producer, Sarah Beckman, who has put so much blood, sweat, and tears into this show and to our entire station. And this is her final show here on Local 5. So we'll see you next Sunday.